So this is class number 3 of learning we are learning about the history of alchemy. We are learning about the difference between high alchemy and alchemy that is ancient chemistry. We are learning about different alchemists from all over the world, and we are also learning how to perform alchemy in the millions of different ways that you can perform alchemy. And throughout these courses and throughout these classes, you are going to slowly become an alchemist. And we are going to have some very intense, deep conversations as these classes go on and hit some extremely complex topics. So make sure that you do check out the notes, watch the previous videos, because things are going to get very complex. But if you were here during our previous class for alchemy number 2, there was homework. So was anybody at alchemy number 2, and did anyone do the homework? It's totally cool if you weren't. I just want to know because I want to cover that first.
Hi, it's me.
Hey! Did you do the homework?
Yes, I did.
Yay!
I will be posting pictures. I still need to take pictures. But let me explain basically what I did.
Awesome.
I drew up a grid based on earth, air, fire, and water. I also carved some crystals with the symbols for earth, air, fire, and water, and used that in a magical word.
Awesome. Oh, that is so
I will get pictures up. I'll get the pictures over to you as soon as I can.
Awesome, thank you. And also, if you want to, which take your time, but if you want to, you can upload the pictures to your Google Drive and then post the links in the chat here so that everybody can see in this class what you did, if you would like to.
Yep, that's no problem at all. I'll get that done over the weekend.
Awesome. Sweet. So just so that everybody knows, for those of you who were not in our Alchemy 2 class, the homework was to create your own talisman. So we discussed and talked about how to make your very, very first talisman. We are going to get into much more complex talismans, but we created our very first talisman. The assignment was to use an alchemical symbol. And as you can see here, we have a little chart of some of the alchemical symbols that you could use. You are welcome to use any alchemical symbol that you would like and draw it onto a crystal, onto a rock, onto wood, onto anything that you would like, and to meditate with it, and to come back to class and discuss how those meditations went and how this symbol made you feel. So, how did your talisman make you feel, Paul? And how did your meditation go?
I've been going through, without going into too many details, I've been going through quite a bit of a rough time of late. So certainly using the earth and water, as well as fire and air, help me able to channel towards doing my shadow work that I am still currently working on. Put new facets of information to me. So as far as the meditation, yeah, absolutely. And I also got the therapy from drawing out a grid and doing everything else.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Paul. I'm so sorry about everything that you've been going through.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So did anybody else, feel free to just put it in the chat or to take yourself off mute. But did anybody else attend our number 2 class? And did anybody else create a talisman?
I did.
Yay! Awesome! Tell us about it.
Okay, I have what I believe is a river rock, and I wrote Venus on it.
Oh,
This
cool.
For last week now, my mom was in the hospital, and I meditated with it a few times, and I felt like that helped me be more calm and nurturing to the situation, to be able to, because I took more stuff on to, because I had to do her workload at home and mine. So I kind of felt like that helped me stay calm and just go with it, and help take care of her too, of course.
Aw, I'm so sorry. I'm so glad that the talisman could help, even just a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's a lot better now, just FYI.
Oh, good.
But
Oh,
yeah. Not going into too much detail, but she had pneumonia and some other stuff. She was in the hospital till last Friday, but she's doing a lot better. She's up moving around, so good spirits.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Thank
Aw.
you.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the meditation with your talisman helped you and that you felt something and then you connected with your talisman in such a wonderful way. So today during class, first of all, before I move on, was there anyone else who did the homework and would like to share?
Hey Alex, I actually have a question for you. When you say to create the talisman out of either crystal, rock, or wood, when we create it, do we have to like do like a sacred space when we're actually like doing like a spell work and stuff like that?
No. So we are going to get into creating talismans by using magic and spell work. This one, I am starting everyone off at the very, very, very beginning. The only thing you had to do was draw a symbol on a thing. That was it. That's all. Draw a symbol on a thing, an alchemical symbol. Draw an alchemical symbol on anything that you would like. I suggested wood or a rock or a crystal, but you could use anything that called to you and to meditate with it. And that was it. That's all.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
Would that be okay to do that on a piece of paper if that's all you've got?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Alex,
Yes.
I was going to try to share an image. I can't upload to my Google Drive from my phone because of my account and the fact that my drive is that image on my screen. But I don't see it to share it with people.
Do you want to, you can totally just send me the pictures and I can put them up on my Google Drive if that's okay with you and then share them with everyone.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. So while Paul does that, it is okay if you did not do the homework. That is why I say my classes are extremely easy to just jump into, because what we are going to start today's class with is creating talismans and doing a guided meditation. And because I am starting everybody off, remember that the classes that I run, especially the alchemy class, I am starting everybody off from the very beginning as if they knew nothing at all about alchemy. So you will notice the first class, we start off with what is alchemy? The second class, we go over famous alchemists around the world and describing the basics of high alchemy and how that evolved from ancient chemistry. And now we are getting into actually creating different rudimentary forms of alchemy and starting that process. So, awesome. So, what we are going to start class with is creating your own talisman. We are going to start class with the homework, especially because we only had 2 students in here who did do the homework. So I think that I wasn't sure if we were going to start class off this way, if all of you had already done the homework. But since there was only 2 of you, I think it would be a great way to start off class. So if you already are aware of different alchemical symbols, feel free to use one of your own, and one that calls to you and one that you're close to. If you have never created an alchemical symbol before, if this is your first time learning about alchemical symbols, please feel free to use the chart provided on this slide. And if you have the ability to just walk outside on your porch or to just walk outside and find a rock, I suggest doing that. If you do not have the ability to just walk outside in the next 2 seconds and grab a rock and bring it inside, feel free to use paper. Totally fine. Or feel free, if you are somebody who sews, to use a piece of fabric. If you are somebody who collects crystals, feel free to use a crystal that you feel okay drawing on with, you know, some form of ink. Use whatever you would like. And any of these symbols that call to you, I want you to draw that symbol onto a piece of paper, onto a rock, onto a piece of fabric, onto a piece of plastic, onto a crystal, onto wood, onto whatever you would like to draw it onto. Now, I am purposely not telling you the meaning of these symbols because I want you to tell me what this symbol does for you when you hold it in your hand and you meditate with it. And instead of starting off by telling you, you know, that the alchemical symbol for moon represents this, therefore you should feel this when you put this symbol onto a rock and meditate with it. Instead of doing that, I want you to tell me what the alchemical symbol for moon makes you feel. What images does it bring up in your mind's eye when you meditate? What does it make you think about? Does it help you to organize your thoughts? Does it create a flood of a million different thoughts running through your mind? Does it help you to clear your mind? Does it make you think about the laundry that you have to do next week? Does it make you sit there and think about work? Does it make you sit there and think about your children or your family? Does it bring up images of water? Does it bring up images of your vacation last year? I want you to hold the symbol in your hands and meditate and tell me what comes to your mind and what images came to your mind, what words came to your mind, what thoughts came to your mind. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to go grab anything you would like, even if it's just a pen and paper, totally fine, and draw a symbol onto it, and then we will start our meditation together. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Of course, what's up?
So I know you're saying to use one of the symbols, but what if we're drawn to 2 of them?
Oh, then please use 2. That is totally fine. Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
of course. Does anybody else have any other questions before we start, or before I give you a chance to go away and go find something and draw on it? Awesome. Then if there are no questions, please feel free to always ask questions, but you may go now and find something to draw on and draw a symbol on it, or draw 2 symbols on it, or a couple symbols, however many symbols call to you. And when you are finished drawing your symbol onto an item, please either put in the chat and say done, or actually, yeah, put in the chat and say done. Then I can know that everybody's done. So we don't start the guided meditation before everyone's done.
In the meantime, just to let you know, I sent you the vector on Messenger.
I saw, I'm uploading it to Google Drive right now. Thank you so much. And I love it, by the way. It is outstanding. I cannot wait to show everybody this.
Okay.
I am also done.
Yay! Thank you for telling me. Okay. And I want to show you guys something really quick. This is what Paul drew, and it's amazing. Just know, though, for those of you who are just drawing your very first symbol, Paul is a very experienced alchemist. This is what your symbols will look like by class number 10. Okay.
Oh my goodness, Paul. That is absolutely beautiful.
Isn't it?
It is. It reminds me of like all the sigil work put into one, and oh my goodness.
Right? I know. I love it. I can't wait for Paul to join Shentat's class. They are going to just vibe.
They are definitely, I mean, oh my goodness.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be awesome.
That symbol feels so, it just is eluding like so much confidence.
Right?
Yeah, so much
Like
confidence.
you can feel all that power in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You really can. It's extremely powerful. Paul is an amazing alchemist. I love our conversations about alchemy, and I cannot wait until all of you get to class 10 and start being able to create symbols that can help you perform incredible magic, like this incredible symbol that Paul has created.
All way too kind. Thank you.
You know, it is so deeply like engulfing. It's just, yeah, it's breathtaking. It really is.
It is.
Paul, can I love that. Can I ask how what you use to draw it? Like what program?
Paul, did you? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I missed that. Sorry, I was away from my keyboard.
I said I love that, and I was just curious what program you use to create it. Because it's like it would.
Believe it or not, I typically will draw it out onto paper. I will then scan it into my computer, and then tidy it up from there, because my handwriting looks like a spider having an epileptic fit. So to get all the wording on there, which is in Latin, And I'll let Alex decipher that for you. Because I'm guessing she already knows some of those phrases. But then what I'll do is I'll typically take it into just a basic CAD program, or even something like GIMP or Critter, which is a vector program, and then I'll tidy everything up from there. That's the negative of it. Obviously, I flip it before I reprint it.
That's so cool.
And when I print them, I typically print them on vellum so I can put them into my Book of Shadows.
They're so intricate. And it looks like
Thank you.
stuff from like the lesser key and or geometry, like stuff
Mhm,
like that.
Yeah,
That's so cool. Thank you.
thank you.
I'm done.
So I think that's a great question too. Awesome. Thank you all for telling me you're done. I'm keeping track. I think we just have like one more person. But I really would love to know, does anybody else? Because yes, I'm aware of all the different phrases that he used. It makes the symbol even more powerful. If any of you can try and guess, or do any of you know, the symbol or the words on the left. So the words on the left side of the screen that he wrote is from the smaller to the greater.
This is Latin, is it?
Yes. So he wrote these words in Latin, which I think is so cool.
An ancient language.
It is.
The reason I use Latin is simply because it is a dead language. Therefore, you can't mess up the translation. Because there's been no evolution of, like, for instance, Old English into Classical English into modern day English. There's a chance in losing something in translation. The reason I use a dead language is simply because if you're able to translate it, there's only one translation for it.
So with the arms that are from the bottom to the top in the words, as long as the words are the same for the top to go to the bottom right.
Paul, did you hear her question?
No,
Is wording in Latin the same for the arm going from the left to the top as to the top to the right at the bottom?
no, they're not. They are different.
They are.
Oh,
They are different. And if you notice too, that was they are only a little bit different. So that's why I was asking if you could guess. If you could guess when I gave you the definition of the left one. And the definition of the left one is from the smaller to the greater. What do you think the right one is that he wrote?
the greater to the smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. And the one at the bottom, I think it's upside down.
It is. The one on the bottom is upside down.
I have no idea what it is.
So the one in the middle that he drew in the circle is, or does anybody know before I tell you what that one means?
Order and chaos.
The one in the middle?
Order and chaos.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I can actually see the translate. It's not the direct translation, but actually I could see it kind of having that symbolic meaning. Totally. The direct translation that he put in the middle there, which is a very common, the only reason I know these three is they are just very, very commonly used Latin phrases for alchemy. A lot of people use Latin phrases for alchemy for the exact reason that Paul stated, that because Latin is a language that isn't going to have any other meanings, it is going to have, you know that your magic that you're working, you know that if you write these phrases, they are going to mean the same thing. They have not been, this language is a dead language. It's an ancient language. It has not been changed over time. So you know that when you perform this magic using these phrases, that the exact thing that you want to have happen is exactly what's going to happen. Because there is no alternative meaning to any of these words. And what the one in the middle is through fire, nature is reborn whole. And that is another reason that he put the snake in there. It's so amazing. This is a very amazing symbol that he has created. It's something that you guys are going to learn when we get into more complex alchemy, but it is every single line that he has drawn in this entire symbol, there's a purpose and a meaning for it being there, and it matches the phrases exactly. And earth, air, fire, and water are all in this circle that he has created. He has created his own sacred circle through an alchemical symbol, and it is protected using earth, air, fire, and water. And the phrases in Latin are incantations of their own to this circle that he has created will perform magic all on its own. It's pretty amazing.
And the wording for the one in the circle where the snake is, what is
Yep.
that again?
Through fire, nature is reborn whole.
Like our forests.
Yes.
The other woman was talking about the bottom leg in between, like underneath the circle, when she had said chaos. That's what it looks like.
Oh, is that what? I am so sorry. Yes, then that is, you were correct. Yes.
So I actually have a question, if you
Yes.
can answer. Paul, when you actually got the translation for this, the Latin words, because I mean, I have no knowledge of Latin whatsoever. Did you just look up those sayings, or was it something that you just knew what you wanted to have invoked and you just looked that type of style up?
I actually learnt Latin at school.
Okay.
It was one of my, you guys call them over here. It was one of my electives. We could do Latin and Latin literature, which I took, and basically we started off learning Pig Latin, what's called Pig Latin, and then went from Pig Latin to classical Latin over the course of 2 years.
Okay.
So
So if somebody was wanting to just actually put a Latin term in on their work, what would be the best way you feel that you would be able to do that without knowing exactly what you're looking up is actually accurate?
I'm going to be honest, do not use Google. Go to your local library and get a Latin dictionary.
Okay.
Google is notoriously bad for trying to translate Latin. Either that or find yourself somebody who's into plants, because plants, when they use their specific name, they use Latin. So somebody who's deeply into herbology, into plants, into gardening, they're gonna have, typically when it comes to other things in alchemy, like Derek, they're gonna have a good base there. But getting hold of a good quality Latin to English dictionary is your best bet.
Okay.
And if you write out the phrase, because some words that we use, they didn't use in it. So you sometimes may need a thesaurus too, to get to certain words, but like and is always the same, to is always the same. Your keywords are going to be the same. It's just the wording that you use in between. If you're going to use Latin when you're doing spell casting or when you're going to use spell work, getting hold of a good quality, I can recommend the Oxford one, the Oxford Latin dictionary. You're able to translate both ways, Latin to English and English to Latin. That's the one we used when I studied doing Latin. So that would be my recommendation. Go to the local library, or go to your favorite bookstore and get a decent Latin dictionary.
Okay. Thank you very much.
What I found is that I can read Latin a bit, that the English words are from Latin, the Italian words are from Latin, the Spanish words are from Latin, the German words from Latin, and that's just the language that was written and not spoken, especially in the Christian churches.
Yeah, as I say, if you speak more than one language, it will certainly be a benefit to you. Italian, definitely. Spanish, definitely. German, definitely. Because when it comes to alchemy, there's a lot of Germanic influence that comes in later on in the Renaissance period, so on and so forth. But we'll obviously get to that later.
Yes, by the way, we will be learning multiple languages in this class, and you will be writing alchemical symbols like this, and like he has put. That's one of the reasons why I showed it off, and I wanted to talk about it in class, is because, like I said, around class 10, you will be producing symbols that look like this, and we will be learning multiple languages. We obviously will not be learning the entire language, because that would take way more than 15 classes. But you will be learning how to write in Latin, and you will also be learning how to write in multiple ancient languages for the purpose of alchemy. The only
And the
reason I know
reason
how
I-
to read these phrases is because of learning alchemy. These are very, very common phrases used in alchemy.
I was going to say, because that's why I use these phrases, because if the more knowledge you have of alchemy, the more you're going to see phrases like this used, which is why I specifically put them on there, hoping to show it to people in the beginner's class, because then they may see it once, but then recognize it in other things later on. So I think
I know, and thank you so much, Paul, for sharing this. It's gorgeous. I'm going to use this as an example in multiple alchemy classes. So thank you very, very much. Of course, I'm going to credit you and let everybody know that it came from you. But I would love to put this up on our website, if that's okay with you, and cite you as the alchemist who created it.
That's absolutely fine.
Thank you. So, I would love if, so it looks like I think everybody is done with their talisman. I'm going to pull back up the symbol sheet that we had. So, if anyone would like to share before we start our meditation, you can feel free to share the way I did, where you post your talisman to your Google Drive and post it as a link in the chat. I know that's going to take a minute, so if you can't do it super fast, it's totally fine. But if you would like to share, please let us know what symbol you chose to draw and what you chose to draw it on and what you will be meditating with in the next couple minutes.
Okay, I don't know how to do this Google Docs program here, but I just wrote it on a piece of paper, and it was for water. And so it's a symbol of my zodiac sign, Scorpio. It's a symbol of being comfortable in the element. Like, I love water, and I just found myself going to a beach and then wading out a ways and just laying on top of the water and having these in. It was just such an incredible thing. The symbol is a symbol of strength. It looks like a shield, and it is needed for life. Water is needed for life. That's what I came up with.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Andrea.
You're welcome.
Awesome. And Kathy put that, she put it on paper, and she did the symbol for silver, or quicksilver, as it is written on this chart. So thank you so much. That's such a beautiful symbol. I am so excited that that one called to you. I cannot wait to hear how your meditation goes, because if you don't already know what that symbol is supposed to do alchemically and what it's supposed to symbolize, I cannot wait to hear what kinds of thoughts and images it brings to your mind while meditating, because that's a very powerful symbol. So that's awesome. Oh, cool. Thank you for sharing yours, honey. So Honey has shared hers, so I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Oh, cool. Oh, I love it.
The last picture, for some reason, the rock has a little imprint of a shell that I just think is really cool. And kind of matches with the moon, in my opinion.
It does. Oh, I love that.
Is this something that you can see on the screen?
Oh, yeah. Can you guys not see it on my screen?
No.
No.
Oh,
No, not showing.
that's so weird. I wonder why it won't. Huh. Because I'm sharing screens right
We
now.
can see the understanding alchemical symbols.
Oh. Here, let me see if it will. Okay. What about now? Can you see it now?
Yes.
Awesome. Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is the symbol for silver?
No. Do you want to share, Hanny? What is the symbol that you drew and why?
Sure. One second. Let me get back to the name of it. And how do you say that? Antimony. I did not actually know what that was, but I did a quick search, and it's apparently some kind of silver that looks similar to rock kyanite, very prickly looking. And at first I thought it looked like the symbol for intersex, but I was proven wrong by, again, a quick Google search, but I still really like it. And that's pretty well it. I don't really know why I chose it, just something that called to me. Yes. And then for the next one, if Alex would kind of scroll, is I chose moon. I'm polytheistic, and one of my main goddesses, her symbol is the moon. So I feel very attached to it.
Awesome. Oh, is it, if I scroll down?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Oh, beautiful. Cool.
Very cool.
Very nicely done.
Yes.
Thank you.
I like that stone though. That's really nice.
Is that the same? Is that the front and back of the stone, like, or is that a different stone?
Yeah, it's the same one. Alex, if you'll roll down one more, it's actually kind of three-sided. On the last side, there's this really imprint of a shell. It's
Yeah.
hard to picture, but it's actually super sparkly. The whole stone is, but especially where the shell.
Look,
im-
also fossil like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Wow.
Mystic would like the stone.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
beautiful. That is so amazing. Oh, and I love that you chose those symbols. I cannot wait to hear how your meditation goes. Oh, that is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Alex, I'm actually gonna put my camera on so you can see mine, okay?
Oh, perfect. Here, let me stop sharing real quick and then we can look at your camera. Awesome.
Okay, so I don't know if you'll ever be able to see it really well. I actually chose Venus and water.
Cool.
Obviously Venus is my goddess, and water is obviously my symbol. But for me, it's more of an empowerment. Because obviously with me being in water, I'm just mentally, I'm powerful when I'm in the water most of the time. But lately, since Venus has been in the astronomy sense, I've just been feeling closer and more in the introspect of enlightened in that emotional state, if that makes sense.
It does. Wow. That's very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jackie. I cannot wait to, once again, I can't wait to see how your meditation goes.
I am too. I mean, the other day I actually gave an offering for the first time to her because I wasn't quite sure how to do that exactly. So, and it was just that next morning I felt more alive than I've ever felt. And it was just like my sage that I got when I went to the cleansing with the Apache basically. And so I gave her that, and it was just, it was such a non-verbally, I can't explain it to you how much it made me feel like I was on top of the world. I had never felt that way. I felt that way the very first time I did the sigil with Shente. And so that was just, I knew right then and there that that was who I was supposed to be going to, you know? So this was a big deal for me.
That's beautiful. Oh, I'm so happy. That's wonderful. Hmm.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sarah, did you have one to share with us?
Oh yeah. It's kind of dark in here. I just have my candles going, so I can't really show you, but and I didn't attend your last two classes, so I'll definitely go back to YouTube and watch those. But so I chose ferrum and alkali. And I'm not familiar with either one of those. But when I saw them, like I saw them layered on top of each other with like alkali first and then ferrum a little bit bigger, kind of layered over it. And then to me, I'm kind of thinking like something that has to do with like grounding, but like the momentum of moving forward, and then the growth, like the outcome of the growth of that is what I feel drawn towards. And I wrote it, I don't know if I told you, I wrote it on Palo Santos. I'm a big fan of burning things. I'm a double Aries. I'm an Aries sun and an Aries moon. And so fire is a big part of my magic. And it was wood. It was the closest piece of wood that I had next to me. So it's on a piece of Palo Santos.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am a double Sagittarius, so I totally feel you. And fire is a huge part of my practice as well. So that's amazing.
Piece of it too. So you can, it's so useful in so many ways.
It
Yeah,
smells nice too.
it does. That is beautiful. Thank you so much. Did anybody else want to share their talisman?
I don't. I don't know how to load it up to Google Drive and stuff. So like, but basically, I just put on a piece of like brown parchment paper the symbol for Saturn, which is it's the that's my birth planet, and I'm also just always attracted to the astrological stuff.
Awesome. Oh, that's beautiful. I can't wait for all of your meditations. This is going to be so cool. I can't wait to see what imagery and thoughts come to your mind. And Saturn is a very powerful alchemical symbol, and we will be using it a lot in many classes. So that is really cool that you chose that one.
I have a real quick question about like when you were talking about learning the different languages and stuff.
Yeah.
Is it okay to like transliterate like I know the runic alphabet. I like rune stones were something that I learned as an alphabet back when I was reading like the Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. And
Awesome.
like,
I like you. That's cool.
I first like taught myself like how to make the alphabet out of it, and it wasn't until like later that I really got more into the runic aspect of it. But like whenever I see the books that are split up to the runic, like the Futas, and I have to make my own notes in alphabetical order so I know where to look for the right right runes. Yeah, and it's like so like I end up using runes more as an alphabet, but also like the individual aspects of them.
Yes, definitely. I totally feel that. I also teach the runes class as well. If you haven't checked those out, those are all on YouTube. And so I love the way that you have helped your mind and your brain to be able to understand that. And definitely, when we start learning other languages and we start writing in other languages, you can definitely do what some people, when they're doing alchemy, they only use a certain letter to just represent the word. It's not necessarily about learning language itself. It's about learning the intention behind the language and how to incorporate it into your alchemy. So yes, definitely you can do that.
Well, that's right. The reason I taught myself with that was I would be so bored when I was in college. I would take my notes in Germanic runes, and like
Wow.
a friend of mine, like I would just like write down the keywords so that it would jog my memory of what we were talking about. And it's like someone's like, it's like oh, we have a test. Can I see your notes? I'm like, they're not going to help you.
If you haven't taken Alex's class on the ruins, you need to. It's an amazing experience.
Oh no, I definitely. I'm just like this is the first class I ever heard about even. So it's like I'm definitely going to be checking out the whole all your courses, especially the runes.
Well, thank you. Good. I'm so excited to have you in class. But yes, you can definitely do that. Also, you're so awesome. When I was in 6th grade, I used to write my notes in Elvish. So, like, you're pretty awesome. That's great. But Elvish from Lord of the Rings, not the
Yeah,
Nordic elves.
yeah, the orienting war.
Yeah.
And the,
So it sounds like to me, Alex, that you need to start in a whole bunch of other classes that teach us how to write all these other languages.
Right. We need to start having.
Not that you, not that you have, a huge amount of time on your hands, just all night long, but.
Right.
but it's handy if you want to jot something down that you don't want someone to just look over your shoulder and see what you're writing too,
Yes,
And like
that
you
was
can-
actually another reason. As I went into that big explanation about why people wrote in Latin for alchemy, and all of that was true. Another reason why a lot of people used other languages such as Latin for alchemy, or even a lot of made up languages that had symbolic letters that weren't part of any actual language, was for that reason exactly, so that nobody knew what they were saying and only they knew, and that it could be kind of the secret code of alchemy. And so yeah, that's a whole nother reason why people do that.
Is it sad that I do exactly that myself?
No, that is not sad at all. That you're just a witch. Or an alchemist. And that's wonderful. Oh, well, yeah, we will definitely learn other languages then. I'll just add it to the 5,000 classes I teach, and we'll just start learning other languages. It'll be great.
Well, you have a couple people obviously who know these other languages now, so I think they can help too.
That's true. I agree. And I have to, we have a lot of classes that we're going to teach at this academy. It's going to be great. But yes, does anybody else want to?
Amazing.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to share their talisman?
I have a question, if it's okay to ask really.
Oh, of course.
Um,
Oh, of course.
you said that it's Orbo. How do you pronounce it? Orbo ab Cow. That's on his talisman. Or
Oh.
Orbo ab Chow. You said it was through fire, nature is reborn whole, or something of that nature.
Yes. So here, let me pull it up.
Is it what also means out of chaos comes order? Is that kind of the same, or is that an incorrect interpretation of it?
So at the bottom here, technically it would be out of order comes chaos, technically.
Okay.
But that is actually so funny that you asked how to pronounce it, because Latin, even though there are a lot of scholars that I'm sure have an idea of how these are meant to be technically pronounced, but because it is an ancient dead language, even I don't know the exact correct way to pronounce each one of these words. It has been reduced to a written language, and many scholars to this day still disagree on the exact correct way in which to pronounce Latin words.
I always say it as I write it when it comes to Latin. That's always been, that's how I was taught as a kid. Say it as you write it.
Yep, so you say it phonetically. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. That is how I do too. But if you are saying it, I would suggest saying it phonetically, and not to worry about whether or not you are technically pronouncing it correctly, because nobody knows if you're right or wrong. I mean, somebody does, but they're dead now. So and maybe
I was thinking though that you're going to the library and getting a dictionary to also maybe get some cassettes on Latin to see how the words are pronounced.
Yes, but as I said, yeah, it is still debated. So even the cassettes that you're going to get in Latin, there's going to be a scholar that tells you that cassette is pronouncing it wrong. There is no consensus on how to actually speak Latin. It is a language in which nobody knows exactly the correct way in which to speak it. It is one of those languages.
Unless you find an old priest who used to say his sermons in Latin, there's an idea there too.
There you go. Or you could use alchemy to go back in time to go find people who spoke indigenous Latin and go ask them. There you go. We're gonna use alchemy to time travel, by the way. That's like class number 9. We're gonna time travel. It's gonna be great. I can't wait.
Oh, here we
I-
go.
I already have a solution to this Latin issue. I'm just gonna ask Paul from now on.
There you go.
With as far as the dead languages, though, too, even the spoken Hebrew was just like, even though it's the national language, up until over, I think it was probably over 120 years ago, it was a dead language that was resurrected and instituted as their national language. But like, nobody's sure how it was really spoken back in the day as opposed to today.
Yep.
I'm taking biblical Hebrew, and apparently there's like that type of Hebrew as well as modern Hebrew. It's 2 different versions.
Cool.
Okay, so we are going to start our meditation. I am just going to pull up some music, I'm laughing at my YouTube. It's like all anime and alchemy. It's funny. So we're just gonna pull up some meditation music. I was going to use some like actual alchemy music that is supposed to have certain melodies and certain tempos that are supposed to enact certain things, but something that I'm really trying to do with this class is start so far at the beginning that if I was to already start you on alchemical trances that are supposed to enact certain thoughts, it would completely diminish the whole idea of this meditation, which is just to see what thoughts naturally come to your mind, what images naturally come to your mind, solely and only using the symbol that you drew. So we're just going to use some very general sleep music / meditation music. Let's see, what's this one?
Switch and save $652. It's okay. There's enough for everyone.
My God,
Pickup keeps your holidays
I am so
moving.
sorry.
I don't know
Okay.
if that's gonna get me into meditation mood, but $59 is expensive nowadays.
Yeah. So everybody grab their talisman and hold it in their hand, and or place it somewhere on your body. If you would like to lay down, you can take your talisman and place it on your third eye. You can place it onto one of your chakra centers if you would like to, or you can just hold it in your hands. You can place it anywhere on your body that you would like. You can lay down, sit up, whatever makes you feel more relaxed and comfortable. And I'm going to start the music, and we are going to do a 7-minute meditation, and just allow any thoughts to come to your mind. Do not try to clear your mind. Do not try to focus on your breath. This is not one of those meditations. You just let any images, any thoughts come into your mind. And if it happens to be stressful, a lot of these alchemical symbols are not created to make you feel peace. Remember that. So whatever comes to your mind, don't try to erase it. Don't try to make it go away. Let it and allow it in. And even if it's uncomfortable. Okay? And here we go. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Yes, you can totally burn it if it's a candle, but like if you're gonna burn it as a candle, take the candle and maybe have it like touching your foot. You want the talisman to be touching you in some way. So if you are going to burn it, maybe just have it burning while kind of touching your leg, as long as you're not like burning yourself. Maybe put it in a candle holder. But if you are going to burn it, you do want it to be touching your body. Yes, of course. All right. Cool. Here we go. Let me bring back.
The sound has stopped.
Slowly bring yourself out of meditation. And when you're ready, I would love to hear about everyone's experience.
Alex, I'm gonna go first if you don't mind, because I gotta get a blanket because I'm freezing. Um, I love the music, just because of the water itself. And for me, it was making me feel very cold because I could feel like the water. I could feel the the power of just like walking through like a little riverbank. But yet it was so cold and like so engulfing over me just because of Venus itself. But it was like she was saying it was all right because she has me rocking like if I was in a rocking chair type deal. And that was always a coping mechanism for me when I was pregnant with my kids, like to calm the contractions down or to calm the, you know, them kicking around and stuff. I would sit and like just rock. And so for me, it was like I could smell the water, I could smell the area around me. I just felt like I was walking through like a little brook somewhere, and I've never seen it, but I can visualize it. Like I can really see it right now. And so, yeah, it was normally when I do my meditation, I'm like completely in my little zone with like the incense and everything, but I didn't do any of that this time. So I wanted to see exactly how it would take just holding it. And that's all I did was put it in my left hand, which for me is to bring the energy in. And then I covered it with my right to keep it there. So yeah, if this is what it is going to feel like for just the 7 minutes, I am going to have to ground myself and put myself in a sacred space, because otherwise I will float. And that's kind of scary.
That's amazing. And yes, you will notice with alchemy, we are working with very powerful ancient symbols that have been used for very powerful, intense, occasionally scary magic for a very, 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 very long time. And sometimes the feeling can be very overwhelming.
Well, yeah, that's my concern, obviously, because of my habit of coming out the body sometimes. I just, you know, the back of my neck is hurting me where my goddess inside of me comes in back into play. So if yeah, I think this is gonna be one of those situations where I'm gonna be talking to you like at midnight, trying to figure out exactly how to control that.
I love it. Wonderful. And so did the meditation and the symbol make you feel like you almost had an out-of-body experience?
It was most definitely.
Wow.
It was most definitely. And my stone is like extremely hot, which is that power of her in me. So I mean, I have my inner like water goddess inside me that I'm always with. But like when I have my outer bodies, she gets intensified, to say the least. And that's why I'm so able to go to certain people, stuff like we've discussed. And having that symbol on there, and I didn't think about it at the time when I was doing the symbol. It was something that, hey, put me on there, put me on there, put me on there. And then to incorporate the water on there, it's like Venus was telling me to get my inner water goddess and combine them. And yeah. So it's going to be intense for me, like the sigils are.
Wow. That's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. That's amazing. And it just came from 7 minutes. I can't imagine what's going to happen when, you know, it's an hour. So
Well, that's why I said I'm probably going to have to put myself in a sacred space so I don't float too much.
yes, I agree. Or, I mean, you know, obviously only do what you feel safe doing, but allowing yourself to float is a big part of where we're going with alchemy. Unlike sigils, a huge part of why people use alchemy is to travel and float, and not only time travel, but hop dimensions and travel through space and time and leave their body for significant periods of time. So if you feel safe and you feel comfortable doing that, I would suggest letting yourself float, but only if you feel safe. I would never want you to do something you don't feel safe doing.
Well, and see, that's the thing. I mean, as you know from our past talks and stuff, I do that without, like, just subconsciously go to other people, help them throughout the day. I go to them to be their energy with them. So I do it all day long and still continue to work, not even realizing half the time that I'm doing it. If that makes sense. It's not like I'm sending, my energy just to them. I can actually physically be in that space with them and actually holding on to their spirit and like helping them function throughout the day. So this is going to be something that's going to, one, like going to enhance my magical abilities, but it's also going to bring me to a more serene moment of being able to embark on myself a bigger challenge. If that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. And I know your ability to be able to astral project is pretty amazing, pretty intense. And I love that this is just helping to channel that and to even give you something that you can hold on to that helps to enhance that. So that's amazing.
So let me ask you this. If I started to carry this stone with me, like everywhere I go, would that happen without me having that control over it even more?
Yes, seeing as how what it did for you in just 7 minutes, I would say my answer is yes.
So is there a way of like protecting myself so I don't have a car crash if it happens?
I would say your idea of creating a sacred space around yourself, because that's what you know how to do and that's what we've practiced doing and gone over. I would say that for now, that is your best option. And then during this class, we are going to learn how to protect ourselves while traveling. So for
Okay.
now, I would say create the sacred space.
Okay, perfect. So then I'll be very careful where I carry it.
Yes, good idea.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This was freaking awesome, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so glad. And thank you for sharing all of that with us.
It was like it was like she was itching to just come out and like just reach out and just like, oh my God, let me just hold you right now, because it's like I could feel it's that intensity from her that it's like my nerves are just shaking right now because I don't know, I can't explain it. It's just that intensity from Venus right now.
That's amazing. I love that's the experience that you had. My first experience with trying to create talismans was definitely a lot more chaos and a lot less euphoria. So that's beautiful. I'm so happy that that was your first experience with
do
using
you
them.
think it's because of the difference in elements with, I mean, obviously with you being a fire sign, it's just like roaring all the time.
Yes, and I definitely, because I'm so attached to fire, my first experiences with alchemy when I was a kid, because I was so excited to use fire, I drew fire symbols all over everything. And yeah, so I'm sure that mine was less peaceful because I chose fire on everything.
Okay.
So, but I choose to bring chaos into my life because now I'm aware of what fire does and I continue to draw fire on everything. So,
Not you. Not you.
But no, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Jackie. Who wants to share next?
I can go ahead if that's okay.
Yes, of course. Sorry, I was muted, but yes, of course.
Oh, okay. I found the sound of the brook was calming and peaceful to me. The music was secondary. I was just so involved in the sound of the water moving. Let's see. It was like a babbling brook to me. And it's happened at springtime. That the brook was trickling over the stones that it was maneuvering around, let's see. I found that the water symbol, I was holding on to it in my book, and it became warm. It wasn't hot, it wasn't cold, it became warm. So I guess the sense of feeling with my hand over it was making it become warm. I wanted to wash my face in the water. That is so tempting to do. And that's everything I came up with.
Wow. I love that. And that's so peaceful and beautiful. I love that these symbols are helping to bring you such peace and tranquility, and that the sound of the water helped to enhance the symbol of the water that you had drawn on your talisman. And wow, that just from 7 minutes of a meditation, that just sounds like such a magical, beautiful experience. And even that you felt sensations like that, such as wanting to wash your face in the water and really being able to feel the presence of the water.
And the meditation surprised me. Actually, it was to do with water. So I mean, it all came together from what I wrote down, that I'm connected with water.
You're a Scorpio, right, Andrea?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yep.
So I
2
can
days.
tell you why the water symbol would actually work with you as well.
Yeah, I'm very well connected to it, and yeah, it's so like a wonderful confirmation of how I feel about water.
Wow, that's
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That is just wow. I'm so excited to see your homework tonight, by the way, is going to be more meditation and for much longer than 7 minutes. So I cannot wait to hear about where your mind goes when you're given more than 7 minutes. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Who would like to share next?
Just a question: how will we be able to get that meditation for us? I found that it was like a stop and go and stop and go, so it would sort of like disrupt my feelings of what I want to meditate on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually, I'm sorry, Andrea, there is actually on YouTube, there are channels that actually do like 10, 12 hour long water sessions for music, because I actually use it sometimes to fall asleep with when I actually do sleep. But they're amazing for meditation too.
Yes, and that's awesome. That's all I was going to say, is that feel free. I just picked something random off of YouTube that I thought would really help to pull everybody into meditation very quickly. So please feel free to use anything in the background that you want, even if you just want to go outside and just listen to nature. Whatever you would like to listen to while meditating, find music or sounds or anything that works for you.
Thank you.
Of course.
I wanted to share my experience.
Yes, please.
Okay, it was funny because I choose water. So it's the music, like I was surprised about it, but okay, it's the most powerful experience of meditation, because I do something like breathing and kundalini, that kind of meditation, and I never felt something like this 7 minutes. I feel like my mind was popping up like a lot of words, and the first word in my mind was shame, and I feel like pain in my left arm. I was trying to visualizing something like a picture or something, and I saw a cabin in the middle of the forest, and I don't know why I felt like a bad smell in between, and from nowhere a new thought came, like I eat my shame, and then my shame, then it came my shame to share. So it's impressive because now I'm sharing my experience and I'm feeling shame. It's awesome. I don't know. And also I feel like past family secrets or past life secrets that it's keeping me, holding me back for being okay with my emotions. I don't know, it was really powerful.
Wow. Yours was so visual. That's amazing. What symbol did you use?
Water.
Water. Oh, so just the symbol for what? Wow. So that was beautiful. So you definitely felt the symbol for water brings on intense and extreme emotions. And for yours to come out so visually like that is just incredible. And it feels like you had such a powerful experience, even if it wasn't always extremely positive, that it was still extremely powerful. And the symbol for water, you know, it's like I said before the meditation, it's not always supposed to bring on things that are only happy and only positive. So I think you really got sent a message that you were meant to feel and experience.
Well, water is always not always calm and cool. It could be chaotic as well.
Yeah, that was the feeling.
That's amazing though. That's absolutely so empowering.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I love that in just 7 minutes, you were really able to get such a message from your own consciousness. And that's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to do this meditation again, like 20 minutes or half an hour.
Awesome. Well, good, because that's your homework. So I'm glad. I can't wait to see what other images come to your mind when you do this for even longer.
May I go?
Yes, of course.
Okay. The two symbols kind of felt almost like duality. But at the same time, like there are two sides of the same coin. The not Antimon, I think I said it wrong. I got more of a serious analytical side. Got images of like science speakers, lab coats, and a cliff. I'm not sure why. The water was very tranquil, but every time I kept going in and out, I found myself going in and out. So I pulled up some native flute music that I listened to meditate. So that might have had something to do with where the cliff came from. But between the two of them, I kind of felt like they were similar and different, where the moon was more soft. The Antimony, Nami side was harder, stiffer. And the moon side, it felt more basic than the other one, where it did not feel like it was hard advanced, more like intermediate, like it was the medium between the next step.
Hey, honey, like a yin and yang when you're saying like the duality of it.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
like
actually what
like
I
I
was thinking.
it's like I can see that with you. It's like I can actually see that image in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like yin and yang, but they weren't hard lines. It was like blending.
Yeah, it was like a mixture of them. It's almost like they're trying to come together as one.
Yeah.
And that's actually where you're seeing like a round symbol and it's off the cliff and you're trying to get to it.
No, not really. The
No.
cliff actually was just like an image of a cliff, just like if it was kind of like in older cartoons, like Wile E. Coyote was chasing Roadrunner and
You stopped though
Roadrunner.
before you got to the cliff, then the cliff though.
Yeah.
And then that's when that image pops into your head, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't have Wile E. Coyote, it just had a cliff.
That's
That
wild.
just that itself. Yeah.
Wow. And you were at our last class too, and we discussed the Hermetic laws. And I think that you really felt, at least from what it sounds like, that idea of duality, which we discussed a lot during our discussion about the Hermetic laws of nature, and that the imagery that came to you really, it really demonstrated that idea that duality is not two things being separate, that nothing in the world is completely separate, that all things are intertwined and interconnected, including things such as the archetypes of good and evil, or the archetypes of up and down and above and below, and that it is only perception that those two things are separate. Really, they are just completely intertwined and they need one another to exist. And so the imagery that came to your mind really, in my opinion, was such an interpretation of so many of the Hermetic laws. So that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
really had no idea how to explain it, but I'm not great at explaining feelings nor describing them, even if they're my own.
You
So I
did
just more work off
amazing.
images.
Yeah, you did amazing on that. I think it's very, it was articulated very well, well enough to be able to envision it with you as you're speaking about it. So no, I think you did a fantastic job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I think that it's very interesting too how both you and Lenny, I think that's how you pronounce your name, Lenny, but both had this experience of seeing images rather than just getting feelings. And I think it's really interesting that you said that your mind and your brain don't describe emotions very well, so instead it came to you as images and imagery.
Yeah, I've kind of always been like that. I'm a lot. I can understand things a lot better if I see it visually versus it being explained or reading about it. Well, reading about it, I'm a bit better with because I can envision it in my head as I'm reading it. But just to hear it spoken or some vague idea, it's harder for me to grasp without something visual to latch onto.
And the sigil class is going to be perfect for you when you start at the beginning.
Yeah, I hope so.
Absolutely is. I mean, because that's how I was at first too when I started doing the magic, when I started to take that sigil and be able to envision it while I'm doing the work. It's just, it puts you at a different level mentally, I think. So having this talisman, having the design on the talisman, it helps you to get engulfed in it, I think. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but that's felt, you know, like you're embedding that into your brain then, and that power of that talisman is actually intensifying, if that makes sense. I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong. I'm just completely new to this whole entire process here, but I don't know.
There is no wrong.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there is no wrong.
I just kind of ramble sometimes, sorry.
No, I love it. That's what these classes are for, and that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, honey. I love the imagery and all of that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course. Who would like to share next?
Wow. Is all I can say. So I had the image in front of me. In my right hand, I had lava cup with air. On my left hand, I had blue apatite with earth. Um, that was rough. This ordeal. Remember not to do that again.
Aw. Why don't you want to do it again? What was rough about it?
Watching a friend burn.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
Send him on his way. Send him on his way.
I know that a lot of times these types of alchemical meditations can bring on imagery that is not what we want to see at the time. And I know that you've been through a lot lately, and so your brain was probably already going through grief, and grief can bring on really intense imagery, especially when paired with alchemical symbols, especially like the ones that you put together. So that must have been really hard. Don't be sorry at all. Meditations like this are really hard. A lot of times they're not tranquil and beautiful. They're intense and rough. I'm so sorry you had that experience. I know that must have been really hard for you to share too. So thank you for sharing your meditation with us. And I know that must have been extremely painful. It is part of the cycle, but it is still a really shitty part of the cycle. I hope that talking about it and knowing that we're all here for you helps a little bit too. Kathy, would you like to go next? I know you had your hand raised, which is why I asked. I don't mean to call you out. But if you would like to go next, I would love to hear about your meditation.
Sure. Okay, I chose the Quicksilver and I put it on paper. I'm sitting in my comfy chair and I'm comfortable and I'm warm and I'm holding it in my hands, a little below my heart, just close to my body, about mid-body. And I thought the air between my eyes and my knees were going to freeze while the meditation was going on. I actually thought about getting up and getting a blanket. It was just very, very cold in that area. It felt like an Arctic wind was just hitting me right there. The symbol for silver seems very balanced in its picture, but it didn't especially feel that way to me. There was a definite difference in silver that's melting and silver that's solidified, and it kept on going back and forth to those two things. And then toward the end of the meditation, I felt like I was in a centrifuge with it. I didn't feel endangered or afraid, just a little tossed and a little, maybe not emotionally disturbed, and also not physically, but there was some disturbance and not really anything I could pinpoint, but it was centrifugal. So that's pretty much, that was enough for 7 minutes, especially on the knees.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that a couple of you mentioned becoming extremely cold. And I think that that's so interesting because a lot of times when we do meditations that where, you know, the meditations that a lot of people do, especially their very first times, where it's like focus on your breath and become mindful of your hands and the placement of your body. And instead, this one was very much just like, let whatever the universe has to bring into you, bring that into you. And it is very interesting that so many people felt cold. And with the symbol that you drew, I was very, very excited to see what you would get out of silver, because silver, in the sense of alchemy, is not balanced. And I love that you were able to feel that without me telling you what that symbol meant. And it's very, very interesting because without anybody telling you what the symbol silver in alchemy means, you hit it on the nose. And it is exactly that feeling of being unsettled and being slightly imbalanced and feeling that sense of both tranquility and also uneasiness and kind of emotional discomfort. And so I love that. That's one of the reasons why I just let people experience it without telling you what it means. And that's amazing that it just came to you that way.
That is amazing. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for sharing. That was amazing. And I love that that all just came to you within 7 minutes. I can't wait to see what happens in, in 30 minutes and in an hour. That's amazing.
I'll probably get here on my head.
Yeah, right. I have a feeling that a lot of people here are going to have very intense experiences for an hour.
Sound like it, yes. Thank you.
Of course.
So we're gonna be meditating for an hour.
Yep, you're gonna meditate for an hour.
Okay.
Not tonight. It's a little one in my time here.
Oh yeah, not tonight. You guys have like a week and a half before the next class. So
I think an hour is gonna be definitely intense. Like when I do my meditations, I don't focus on my breath work. So I'm always cold, but I'm also in that other realms. Like when I do that meditation, it's not like where I can actually sit and focus on like, okay, what is supposed to happen? So, I mean, for me, I'm always cold. So it's interesting that, I'm hearing a lot of people are cold.
yeah, definitely.
Cold could also come from the fact that you've heard water.
Yeah, I
Cold and
definitely
wet
agree.
are cold and wet and hot and dry are, well, I'm sure we're going to get into that.
Yeah,
That
see, for
does
me,
have, it definitely does have alchemy reaches, is what I'm going to say.
yeah, like I said, I mean, with me, I usually use either the water or I'll use like, drumming, or I'll use like the flutes and stuff like that, just to get my mind clear enough. And that's when I call it float, but I'm sure that there's a technical term for it here. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that one. I think because you're hearing the water, you're hearing that sensation of that rumbling. You feel that coldness, you feel that briskness that's there, and it just kind of gets into your body, into your bones and stuff.
Yes, and definitely when I say the meaning of silver, I'm not telling you the full meaning of silver. I'm not telling you the full meaning of any of these symbols yet. I was just addressing how accurate Kathy's explanation was without actually telling you the definition of what silver represents when you draw it into an alchemical symbol. We are going to get to that next class, but for your homework, I actually would love if when you do your homework, which like I said is going to be meditating with your talisman for an hour, that nobody look up. Number one, Google is going to give you a shitty explanation anyway. So if you do look up what your symbol means, unless you get it from a very reputable source or from an alchemical book written by an alchemist, you're not going to get a great explanation anyway. But I encourage you not to look it up yet. I promise you I'm going to tell you. I promise you you're going to learn, but don't look it up yet. I am not telling you on purpose. I'm not just trying to be, secretive and not tell you the meanings of these and being very vague. I'm being vague on purpose. This is part of learning alchemy, is not just learning definitions, but learning how these symbols affect your mind and body and spirit, and how they affect every aspect of your aura and your energy and who you are, and how they interact with your aura and with your energy. because I don't believe in just telling people the definition. Like when I work with crystals, I'm not just going to say rose quartz does this. Every single person who holds rose quartz feels this way, because that is just untrue. Same thing goes for scents. You know, I'm not just going to say lavender will help you sleep, because that's not true. When lavender mixes with your aura and your energy and also your lived experiences and what you associate the smell of lavender with, everybody is going to have a different experience with the scent of lavender. And the same goes for symbols created with alchemy. So instead of learning the definitions, first we are going to learn how these symbols interact with our aura and our energy.
So it's like the fear of the unseen,
Yes.
which is interesting because that was my card this morning. So thank you.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Not really, because then I drew self-protection after that. So yeah.
I guess it's awesome because yeah, it relates to this class and to what we're discussing.
Which is actually interesting because with you having the water and the fear of the unseen, for me, in that sense, it's the depths of the power behind it. So for me, it's like, okay, an hour. I can do an hour. I can figure this out.
Yes.
So
who
thank you for
wants to share?
challenging.
Oh, of course. No problem. Thank you for being up to the challenge. Who wants to share next? We still have Sarah, Tom, Avery, and I'm pretty sure iPhone is Kim.
Hi, this is Tom. I don't know if when I hear you talking, it's my connection. Can you hear me?
You are definitely cutting out just a bit, but yeah, I can hear you.
Well, and I put it over my along with my light necklace. Put it my hand over it. I kind of like I could feel it almost heating up. And I thought it was funny because with the water sound, it was definitely a heat, like a very strong. Didn't have any images, but basically of like strength and heat.
Wow, it's very interesting that so many people really felt their talisman get hot. Whether it was just warm or whether it was like really hot, it seems like that was a shared experience with a lot of people, which is always interesting to me, especially because that's actually a very, very common thing within alchemy, is to not only feel your talisman get hot if you were to create a talisman using your alchemical symbol, but to, if you were instead to create this symbol on the ground, which was a lot of people do, to create the symbol on the ground and to sit inside of your alchemical symbol. People also say they feel the sensation of the symbol beneath them becoming hot. And that is just, it's really interesting to me as well, because I am not someone who has ever felt a temperature change in my talisman. So that's awesome I always admire that a lot of people feel the sensation of a temperature change within their talisman or even within the ground underneath them. And so that's very, very interesting. And yeah, it sounds like you could really feel the energy of the symbol that you created. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, go ahead, Sarah. I saw that you were about to speak, so please go ahead.
Sorry, I don't ever know if it's a good time to chime in. So my was all over the place. But I also think that I was kind of like drifting in and out of like going into like trance or like sleep. The irony though was, so the music kept pausing, the sound kept pausing, and I would kind of like, I would drop in and I would start having these visuals. And the visuals started out as stones, rocks underneath water, and like the water flowing over the rocks. And then the rocks turned into like baby faces. And then there was just like one large, like I was no longer in the water. It was just like this image of like a larger baby face. But in between those things happening, the music would stop. And then I kind of chuckled about it because to me, I mean, to the way that I journey through a lot of things, or that I make an effort to journey through things, is that everything has a purpose. Like everything can have meaning behind it. And like I can find something significant in all things that are happening the way that they are. And so like the music pausing the way that it did, and then going into that silence, thinking that like the music is supposed to keep going. Like I need them to continue. Like this pause isn't supposed to be here, right? Like that's the very like two-dimensional part of my brain that was like something's wrong, like something, there's a mistake, like something. And then there's like this little chuckle, like the inner child part of me that was like this relinquished control. Nothing has to look the way that we think that it has to look like, which then translated into going with the flow, which made sense with that connection of water. And feeling this steadfastness towards like, no, things need to look a certain way. And then being like, but nothing has to look any which way, like anything can be anything. And then which is like such as to me like I'm alchemy has been, alchemizing has been a word that has been very prominent for me over the last couple of years without really getting into it, without doing research. Or I'm kind of one of those people like just let stuff come up as it comes up when the time is right. Like my guides just, when it's time to tune in, I tune in, and like things appear. And like, so the timing of this, especially like going with the flow, not being so committed to what something's supposed to feel like. I don't and just going with the flow. And then I feel like that image of like the child's face is like the wonderment and the curiosity, and like everything is fun. Like we can find fun in everything. Like everything can be exciting. Like nothing has to be what we think that nothing has to do what the adults tell us it looks like, right? And just kind of keeping that curiosity, which to me is kind of what alchemy and my connection with it is all about. Like in chaos magic, I knew what chaos magic was. That's kind of been like the story of my life, is turning something that seems very chaotic and unfortunate into a lesson, into process of growth, into a connection with my higher self, and then being able to connect others in their journey, and like being a guide and being guided. And so just in that short period of time, it was like I'm sure a lot of you can connect with, like you get these tiny little images, but then everything kind of just connects in a flash of like this big picture, and you're not really thinking about it, you just see it. and in what you see, there's that feeling of what it symbolizes. So I hope that made sense. In my brain, that's just what it went. That's what I went through. That's where I'm at with it.
No, that made
Okay.
perfect sense. That is so cool. Wow, and you really got to interact with your inner child in such a beautiful way, and something as simple as the music pausing during meditation brought out all these, like, brought out even more symbolism and more communication with your inner child. And I think that that's another thing too, that water and air really symbolizes communication, and you really embodied that in communicating and talking with your inner child, and embracing, especially at the end, embracing your inner child, and feeling what it really means to let your inner child dictate your meditation. And that's so cool.
Thank you for holding space for us to have these experiences. It's been really neat.
Oh, of course. Thank you for sharing with us and being part of this. It's amazing. I'm so happy you're here.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Of course. Thank you. That was amazing. All of you have had such incredible, deep experiences in only 7 minutes. And it is just, it's magical. It is just blowing my mind. Ah, thank you everyone so much. This is just wonderful. We have one person left. Kim, if you would like to share. I think it's you. I think iPhone is Kim. Oh, awesome. Are you going to share in the chat? No, that's beautiful. My symbol is fire. I felt warmth. The red melting wax was like blood. I could smell smoke. The word war appeared in my head. I love that you brought up so many different senses, because I really love to, I think that so far tonight, we have really realized that some people in this group really felt feelings and emotion, and some people really saw imagery. Some people really connected with words. Some people even communicated with a different part of themselves and with a different expression of their being. And you brought up sense of smell. And I love that, because nobody else really brought up sense of smell. We all, we brought up sense of touch with the feeling of heat and cold. We brought up communication and words and imagery and sounds and all of these things, but nobody brought up sense of smell. And so I love that you brought up that you smelled smoke. For me, in my meditation, sense of smell is a huge part of it. I am just somebody who communicates with the world a lot with sense of smell. Smells are usually the gateway to my memories. And so I love that you brought that up. Thank you so much. That's amazing that you interacted. Yes, and transmutation. I love it. We are going to get in very soon here to discussing transmutation and creating transmutation circles. So I love that you brought up that word. And transmutation circles have a lot to do with enacting every single sense. And I think that we really saw during every single person's explanation how during meditation you can interact with every single sense, where you can smell things, you can see things, you can feel things, nobody brought up taste, which I encourage you. We're going to talk about the homework. Part of the homework is going to be interacting with your 5 senses during meditation. There's a reason for that. Like I said, alchemy, one of the very first things that we are going to use alchemy for is traveling. When you travel, the very rudimentary basics of it is interacting with the 5 senses. What can you smell? What can you taste? What can you feel? What can you see? What can you hear? And then, of course, the 6th sense and what's going on in your mind's eye. And your out of body experience. And so I love that people brought up so many different forms of the five senses and how you can interact with the five senses during meditation. Oh, yep. So what does transmutation mean? Yep. The changing of one thing to another. And yes, so thank you all so much for sharing. I know we have definitely gone over our time for class by a lot. This class was it was a lot about your own personal experiences with alchemy, and I really wanted to bring alchemy into a class because I don't enjoy learning through a textbook. And I know that our first two classes were very much textbook. It was very much, I try not to be. We still had a lot of conversation, but it was very much like, what is alchemy? What's the definition? What are the symbols? Who are some famous alchemists? What did we learn from them? What did they say? What are some famous quotes? And all of those things. And I really wanted this class to just be focused on us doing our very first alchemy meditation and using alchemy for meditation. And that is kind of the very first step in learning how to manipulate alchemy on a higher level. And yeah, there's definitely a lot more to transmutation. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat and talking at the same time. But if you read the chat, they're talking about transmutation. There's a lot more to transmutation. We're gonna get there. It's gonna be amazing, but baby steps. So your homework. Number one, I'm gonna start with what your homework is. You are going to hold your talisman, the one that you have created today in class, and meditate, do the exact same thing we just did today in class, but for an hour. You can pick whatever music you would like, or pick no music. Like I said, you can just go outside and listen to nature, or even just lay in your bed. Whatever you would like to do. No music, whatever. But it is very important. Do not try to force your mind or body to do anything. Do not focus on your breathing. Do not practice mindfulness. And I know that for somebody who is pagan and who has probably been meditating the entire time they've been practicing witchcraft, for somebody to be like, do not practice mindfulness, do not focus on your breath, do not clear your mind, it sounds very counterintuitive. But this is a different form of magic. And this form of magic, it is very important that you do not try to force your brain to do anything. You do not try to force your body to do anything. We are not practicing mindfulness right now. And just let whatever comes to your mind and whatever happens to your body, let it happen. If you notice that you are starting to float out of your body, if you feel safe and it's okay with you, I encourage you to let that happen. If you feel a really bad feeling start to come to you, I encourage you to let that happen. Don't try to push away bad thoughts. Do not do the thing where, negativity, breathe out negativity, breathe in positivity. Do not try to do that. Let the negativity happen. Let floating out of your body happen. Let whatever happens happen. Your talisman is going to make certain things happen to your mind and to your body and to your spirit. And it is important that you let it happen. Obviously, if you don't feel safe, if you feel extremely uncomfortable and not safe and you do not want to continue, please don't let it continue. Open your eyes, stop the meditation, wake up, turn off the music, do whatever you can to get out of that space. I do not want people to have panic attacks, and that's not the goal. But the goal is, if it does happen, to feel slightly uncomfortable. That is okay. Let that happen. So does anybody have any questions about the homework? The next class will be in about a week and a half. I will post it on the same page that you found this class the first time. Yes, you can separate the hour into 30-minute segments. I encourage you to try and go for the full hour. But if meditation is something that you are that is more difficult for you, something that you are just starting out on, please feel free to only go for 30 minutes. Just go for as long as you can. And the homework is to only do it once. If you would like to do it every single day this week because it was so powerful for you, please do. If you would like to do it before you sleep and see what the talisman brings you in your dreams, go for it. If you would like to bring the talisman with you somewhere to go to the park and to go experience the world while holding your talisman, please do. Interact with your talisman as much as possible if that's something that you would like to do. Your homework is to just meditate for an hour, but I encourage you to do more than that. Experience your symbol, experience your talisman, and come back to this class with millions of stories about what happened and what this symbol did to your mind and body and soul.
And also be mindful as far as the senses is concerned, like your smelling and your touch and your taste and your the other symbols, including the sixth sense. I think you mentioned that, right?
Yes, so during this meditation, thank you for bringing that up. So yes, during this meditation, something that I want you to focus on afterwards. Like I said, I do not want you to force your brain to do anything, but after your meditation, once you have woken back up, when you are processing your meditation, when you are writing it down, when you're journaling, if you choose to journal about this, or if you choose to just process it and think about what you smelled. What did you see? What did you taste? What did you feel? But make sure you're doing that after you wake up so that we're not forcing our brains to be like, oh, what do I taste? And then suddenly you taste something. After you wake up, think about it. Did I taste anything? Did I smell anything? Did I feel anything? Did I see anything? And so on. And if please feel free to ask any questions about the homework or about class. And for those of you who would like to stay later, I know that for a lot of you, it is like super past bedtime. Totally fine. Now is the time in which you can totally leave if you would like to. If you don't have any questions, you have your homework. Also, all of the slideshows from every single class will be up on the website. The one from the first class is already up on the website. The one from the second class will be up on the website tonight. Feel free to go look at all those class presentations, all those slideshows, and the videos from the first two classes will be up on YouTube tomorrow. And yes, you can incorporate your previous symbols in the meditation, definitely. For sure. Thank you for asking that. But for those of you who do not feel like going to bed yet, and you would like to stay a little bit later and look at something cool, and for any of you who are still kind of contemplating what alchemy is and how to make these symbols really come to life, I found the perfect little first episode of a show that I really like. It's only 15 minutes long. If you would like to stay 15 minutes after class, I would love to show it to all of you. Even if there's only one of you here, totally fine. But the show, if you would like to watch it on your own time, it's on Hulu. It is called Mushishi. And yes, it's an anime. Yes, I'm a nerd. But it is an anime that is going to explain to you how these symbols can come to life and what transmutation is and what alchemy is. So if you would like to stay 15 minutes later, I'm going to do a little watch party. If not, have a wonderful night And thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait until our next alchemy class, and I can't wait to hear about your homework.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Good night.
Good night to anyone who's leaving.
Good night, everyone.
Not getting rid of me, ladies.
Well,
I gotta
good.
say, I watch my son's anime stuff with him, and I'm like, there's so much good information in there. Even some of his like Japanese video games have really cool information in it. So I'm all
They
for it.
really do.
Can you put that link in with the DiviNation community so we can watch it later?
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Of
Good
course.
night now.
Good night.
I
I,
Night.
Alex, I'm gonna head out because I have to finish those art projects. But
Awesome.
I will speak to you later, I'm sure.
Yes. Oh, definitely. I will talk to you
Hmm.
soon. Thank you for
Thank-
being here, Jackie.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and watching your videos.
Thank you. You too.